Hi everyone and welcome back. I'm Heather Noble and today I will take you through the steps of assembling your pillow. I've designed my pillows to have a button closure on the back so the insert can be removed for laundering purposes. At this point you should have 3 sections to your pillow: the front, upper back, and lower back.
First thing I want to talk about are the buttonholes. I have designed my pillows to have 5 buttons. Some of them have 4 buttons, but most of them have 5 buttons across the center of the back. And the reason I've done this is I wanted a way to open up the cover so that you could pull the insert out and be able to wash the pillowcase that you're making. So you could have done it with zippers if you wanted. I think that's harder, so that's why I went with buttons. So you'll need 5 1-inch buttons. This is the one I'm going to use today. It fits through the buttonhole nicely in both the weight 3 yarn and also the worsted weight yarn. So if you go with a 1-inch type button, you'll be able to use that nicely. You notice in Mosaic crochet, for the regular pattern, it's a double thickness. You're working over the top of the row below in order to create the pattern. And I wanted to be able to put the button section together so that it made the design equal 2 layers. So if you notice, I'm going to pull this together. I've made the buttonhole section and the area where we'll place the buttons 1 thickness instead of a double thickness, so that when you put them together, the area that overlaps will create the same thickness as the rest of the design. It'll become a double thickness once you button them. So that's why that area is a single thickness. It's made with single crochet stitches in the back loop for each row instead of going over the top with the double crochets like most of the Mosaic crochet designs do. So that's why that's done that way. I've already created the buttonholes here, but I have a sample swatch that I'm going to swap out here to show you how I made the buttonholes. Here is my app that I have Knit Companion on. I've talked about Knit Companion in a lot of my videos. It is a free app. You can also get a paid version. The free app does most of what you'll need. In fact, I think it does all of what you'll need, unless you want to get fancy and be able to, write on it and make notes and things like that. Then you'll need to get the paid version. But as far as actually using the app itself, being able to move the highlighter button or highlighter bar, this vertical bar that you can move to keep track of where you are in the stitches. It's just a phenomenal program. So it's called Knit Companion. I highly recommend it. When you get to the row where you start creating the buttonholes, you'll see this black bar. It's actually 4 spaces wide, and that is where you'll do 4 chains all the way across. You're going to do 4 chains and then skip the stitches below it, and then single crochet in the next stitch. So that's what that special marking means in my patterns. I don't use this particular symbolism anywhere else in my pattern, so that is my way that I show a buttonhole. So I'm just going to show you on the swatch now how I create that. Okay, I'm getting ready to make a buttonhole, and I've started this swatch to mimic the rest of the pattern that I've been working on. So I've single crocheted along my row up until where I want the buttonhole. So to make the first part of the buttonhole, I'm going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to skip 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and single crochet into the back loop of the next. So this creates a chain space that we're going to work into in the next row. So now I'm just going to continue my single crochets along the rest of this row, and I'll meet you when I get on the next row to finish off the buttonhole. Okay, I'm on the second row of my buttonhole. I have single crocheted in the back loop up to the spot where I have my chain space. You can see the chain 4 space right here. So in this row, I'm going to single crochet 4 into this chain space. 1, 2, oops, 3, 4, and then I'm back to the regular single crochet into the back loop for the rest of the row. So you can see this made a buttonhole. When you've finished making all 3 sections of your pillow, you're going to want to tie off the ends. And I wanted to show you, I've shown this in another video, but I wanted to show you the way that I knot my ends, because the way that I learned made the ends kind of stick up and go every which way, and it was really frustrating to try to work my first round around the border with all the yarn getting in the way. So I found this way where they'll lay nice and flat. So all I do is take 2 strands, wrap it around my fingers, reach through, and then keeping my left hand where I want the knot to sit, I pull to secure the knot. It's very simple. It sort of feels silly to make a video about how to tie a knot, but boy does it change my frustration level in making that border edging. It just was so frustrating to have to pick out the yarn pieces all the way along, and these lay so much smoother and nicer. So this is the way that I tie my knots. And then I usually trim between 1.5 inches and 1/2 inch along. Like so. Okay, we're going to work on how to place the buttons on the top, the upper back section, this area of your work. The first thing I'm going to do is overlap the bottom section and the top section and match up the edges, make sure everything's fine. Now you'll notice the area where there's only single crochet, the tension is a little tighter. That's just a natural way that happens because it's a smaller stitch, so it's a little tighter than the regular part of the work. So if you just tug it a little bit, you can block it if you want to, but the edging is going to take care of that right now. So I just match up the edges, and then I'm going to use regular straight pins and connect them temporarily for now, just to match them up evenly. So right here on the end I'm going to pin them together, and then on the other side as well. Now I've waited till now to place the buttons because I don't want there to be a weird pulling tension where the buttons go. So I could have marked them where they technically go on the pattern, but I wanted to make sure that when I got finished crocheting that I placed the buttons where they actually go. So what I've done is I've gotten 5 stitch markers for the 5 different buttons, and I'm going to just pretend they're a button and put the stitch marker where I'll place the buttons, like so, all the way along. Now I have all of my stitch markers in place, so I can unpin the 2 pieces for now and pull off the lower back section, and I have the stitch markers exactly where the buttons will go. So the next step I'll do is to take all 5 buttons and sew them on. So that's what I'm going to do, and then I'll meet you back here. Okay, I've finished attaching all of the buttons, and I'm going to attach the bottom section to the top section of the back, And if it's going to pull at all, this is the section where it will gap and pull. So we want to make sure that this is lined up nicely and not pulling at all. The edges are nice and even. And everything just sits the way that it's supposed to. And then I'm going to take my straight pin again and attach these two pieces because we're going to use the front post single crochet all the way around the edge, and it will be also used to join these two sections, the upper back and the lower back. So I've pinned them so they don't move, and I'm going to start at the bottom. So I'm going to turn this around. And I'm going to start at the bottom. I'm going to use a red color for the edging just to give it a pop of color, and also because it'll be easier to see on camera where the stitches are. So I'm going down a hook size. I used a 5mm hook for the worsted weight yarn that I used for this pattern, and I'm going to go down to a 4mm hook for the edging or the border. Pick a spot on the bottom, insert your hook and out around the post on the other side, and attach your yarn. And chain one, and then going back around the same post, make a single crochet. Then you're going to insert your hook into the loop that you came out of before. So I inserted here around this post. Now I'm going to insert on the left side of that same post and around the next post, single crochet. Insert around the post, single crochet, all the way down to the corner. And you're just going to work on the front side. Normally when you work a double border or an envelope border with mosaic crochet, you start on the back side, but we're not going to work on the back side. That's going to be hidden inside the pillow. We're not going to need to do a border on the back side, just the front side of the work. And also this is an area where if your gauge is smaller than what's called for in the pattern, you can use the edging to lengthen the sides so that you get it to the size that you need for your pillow insert. All of my designs are created for an 18-inch pillow, but that's with Stylecraft Special DK yarn as the gauge and a 3.75mm hook. I realize that not everybody likes working with that weight yarn or that small of a hook. Some people struggle with arthritis or have other reasons why they don't want to work with a yarn that weight, and I understand that. If that's the case, you might want to go up to a 20-inch pillow instead of an 18-inch. So there are ways of working around, but this is an area where right now I'm doing a single crochet just to make the foundation around the edge, but you can lengthen it with a half double crochet in the next row or a double crochet if you want it even wider. If you do, for instance, a double crochet is approximately an inch, and if you take into account that you'll have an inch on this side and an inch on the other side, you've added 2 inches by doing one round of double crochet. So things like that you can sort of play with and just determine if you need a little extra length. This is a way that you can do it. So I'm almost at the corner, and when I get to the corner I'm going to work 2 into the corner. 1, 2, and then I'm going to turn my work, and now I'm at the side with, well, where the edge is, and so it's I call it a front post. These are technically the ends of the rows, not a post. What you want to look at here is to work as close to the end stitch as possible to make it look nice and neat. So I'm going to insert my hook around this row. And then work my single crochet. Go back in where I finished, work around the next row. I'm going to work my single crochet along the edge until I get to the center where the buttons are, and this is where I'll meet you. Alright, I've done a front post single crochet along the edge, and I'm to the center section of the back where I'm going to attach the upper back and the lower back together. So I have them pinned together right now, and I'm going to work through both thicknesses. So here's the top, and then on the back we've got the second layer. We're going to go through both sections to basically use the front post single crochet to sew them together. So going under each row. I've now reached both thicknesses, so I'm going to go through both. Keep poking myself with the needle. Ugh, don't want to do that. I'm going to pull the needle out because they are technically connected now, so they're not going to go anywhere. I'm going to work back up through here to lay that flat. Okay, so here's the front. You can see the red yarn a little bit on the back here that I've connected through both layers. Nice and secure, not going anywhere. So then I can just continue down the rest of the edge here, and I'll meet you at the corner. Okay, I am just about to the corner of my side here, and I just want to show you, just like before, in the corner you're going to do 2 single crochets. I go right to the edge to make the corners as square as possible. I like to have a crisp corner rather than a rounded corner that pulls funny. So 2 single crochets in the corner, and then turn your work and single crochet under the posts along this edge. So you're going to continue all the way around the perimeter of both the back piece and the front. And then when you're finished with that, I'll meet you back here and we'll talk about how to assemble all the pieces. Okay, I have done a front post single crochet around the perimeter of both panels, the front panel and the back panel for this pillow, all the way around the front side of both pieces. On the back side, I used it to sew the 2 pieces together, so now we have 2 full pieces ready to assemble. Now I'm going to be using an 18-inch pillow insert, and I've measured my pieces, and at this point they're exactly 18 inches. I want to have a little bit of give in the pillowcase itself, because if it's tight it will gap at the buttons and I don't want that look. So I'm going to make another round around each piece with a half double crochet just to add a little bit more give to the final product. So that's what I will do next. I have found that using the front post single crochet is an easier method for me to use than the slip stitch method that I used to use. And it's also easier to work into than a slip stitch when you want to add a row. So that will be my next step. I'm going to do a half double crochet stitch around the perimeter, and when I get to the corners I'm going to do a half double crochet, chain 2, and another half double crochet into the corners, and then work my way around the rest of the perimeter. I'm going to work under both loops, so it's not going to be anything, you know, fancy. It'll just be a regular half double crochet under both loops. So I'm going to join my yarn and chain 1, then yarn over, insert my hook into the same stitch, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through all 3 for a half double crochet. I'm going to pull my tail around and work over it as I go to bury it and just make it a little more secure. Right now I'm having trouble. There we go. So yarn over, insert my hook under both loops and the tail, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through all 3. And I'm going to do that all the way down to the corner. You can use any size stitch that you want here. If you just need a little bit more width, you can use another single crochet row. If you'd like a little bit wider, you can do a double crochet, or you can do 2 more rows. This is an area where you can play with stitches to get the desired width of your project. So I'm at the corner. Remember when we did the first round, we did 2 single crochets in the corner. So for this corner, I'm going to I'm going to half double crochet in the first stitch, then I'm going to chain 2, and then half double crochet in the second stitch. And that gives this corner. And I'm going to turn and work down the side the same way. So I'm going to just work around the entire perimeter of both the front and back pieces. And then I'll meet you back here for how to assemble both of those pieces once I've completed this second round of half double crochet around both. Okay, I have completed a half double crochet border around both the front and the back panels, and now it's time to assemble both pieces. So I'm going to, I've measured them. They're at about 19¼ inches now, which is going to give a nice ease to the fit. It won't be a tight fit around an 18-inch pillow insert. Like I said before, if you use a thicker weight yarn and you would like to make this design, you can go up a pillow size to a 20-inch insert. I'd suggest starting the design and then measuring pretty early on in the process before ordering your insert to know which size to get. So I've flipped over the back side, and I'm going to put wrong sides together to assemble the pillow. And I'm going to use stitch markers in the corner just to keep the corners aligned as I go. And I will be starting a regular single crochet in the bottom corner and just use a regular single crochet to attach the two sides of the edging together. Okay, so I'm going to be using 3 single crochets in my corners when I get to them, but to start I'm going to just do 2, and when I get to the end of my round I'll do the third one. So I'm going to insert my hook into the chain space I created at the corners, both front and back, and attach my yarn and chain 1, and then I'm going to make 2 single crochets in the chain space of both pieces. 1, 2. I'm going to make sure that all of my ends get tucked in as I work. There we go. So I'm going to insert my hook under both loops of the front and the corresponding stitch both loops in the back, and single crochet the 2 together. Front, back, single crochet. I'm going to work my way down the side doing the single crochet, attaching both sides together, and I'll come back when I get to the corner. Okay, I've completed joining the first side and I'm at the corner. Now at the corners you're going to do 3 single crochets into the chain space. So I'm in the front corner, the back corner, and I'm going to single crochet 3 into this chain space. 2, 3. So that completes the first side. And I'm going to just continue around the perimeter of the entire pillow.
And here we have the final look. I hope this video has answered any questions you may have had about pillow construction. Please visit heathernobledesigns.com if you have any further questions. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.